we have, at the same time, 150 countries that want to make a deal, but you're not able to see that many countries. So at a certain point over the next 2 to 3 weeks, I think Scott and Howard will be sending letters out, essentially telling people, it would be very fair, but we'll be telling people what they'll be paying to do business in the United States.
President Trump wrapping up his first overseas trip of his second term in the Middle East with a promise of incredible investment back into the U.S. Joining us now is Bloomberg's Brendan Murray. And Brendan, we heard there from the president as he starts to end his Middle East trip. What have been the takeaways of a very headline-heavy visit?
Yeah, well, the main takeaway is that the president spent the week in this region to try to get the flow of investment, of money, back to the U.S. for things like factories and advanced equipment investments that some of these countries have committed to doing. The UAE is building funding an aluminum production facility. The president said. So the main thrust of his goal this week was to get the flow of money back to the U.S. He spent the first 4 months of his presidency, his second term, trying to get trade flowing, trying to renegotiate trade deals. So that would be the main takeaway from the 5 days that he spent there.
If you also look at who's been accompanying Trump on this trip, Scott Bessent was also in the Middle East as well. And Trump said this just about an hour ago, that Bessent will be sending letters to countries, that Bessent to say what they have to do, what they have to pay to do business in the U.S. Brendan, is this Scott Bessent fully in control now of American trade policy?
That's what it sounds like from what we heard from the president today. I think the main takeaway from those comments about the 150 countries is that the U.S. administration is overwhelmed with the amount of trade negotiation that it needs to do. There are a number of talks going on bilaterally with India, with Japan, with South Korea, with China, and that as the president said, there are 150 countries that want to do deals, and there just isn't the capacity to handle that. So it sounds like a lot of those countries are going to get a letter saying this is what your tariff rate is. Now, he was vague on the details. He said this is what they're going to pay to do business, but it sounds like that those reciprocal tariffs that the president announced on April 2nd, some of those countries are going to get a letter saying this is what your number is.
Will they be willing, though, to accept frameworks akin to the UK, akin to China, Brendan? Because, for example, the FT reporting this morning that Japan appears to be holding out for a better trade deal.
Yeah, exactly. I think one of the things that's coming to light as the weeks progress is that 10% floor, that 10% reciprocal tariff rate floor, isn't going away, and a lot of countries want it to go away. South Korea wants it to go away. Japan does too. There are a number of countries that have free trade agreements with the U.S. that say, look, we've got zero tariffs now, and that's the rate we want. They're going to find out. It appears very quickly that rate is not going anywhere, and that will be the minimum number that every country is going to get.